All right, chapter 2. Here we go. This time around, I'm going to help you a little bit, taking some notes with you as we kind of go along. A lot of important information is going to come out of it, but this is one of my favorite chapters in this entire book. Dolly was waiting for Johnny and me under the light at the corner of Pickett and Sutton. And since we got there early, we had time to go over the drugstore and the shopping center and goof around a little bit. We brought Cokes and blew some straws at the waitress and walked around eyeing things that were lying out in the open until the manager got wise to us and suggested we leave. He was too late, though. Dolly walked out with 2 packages of Cools under his jacket. Now, Cools are a type of cigarettes. Then we went across the street and down Sutton a little way to the Dingo. There are lots of drive-in towns. The Socias go the way out into the Rusties, and the Greasers go to the Dingo or to Jay's. When they say drive-ins, they're talking about like drive-in quick diners or drive-in movie theaters as well. So in this case, we're talking about a drive-in movie theater. I don't know if you've ever been to a drive-in movie theater, but they're awesome. And they're kind of really cool. So you just kind of turn to the station and then you can watch the movie from your car. This was very big in the 1960s. So remember, the Socias in Greece, 2 different places. And the Socias go to one called the Way Out or Rusty's, while the Greasers goes to the Dingo or to a place called the Jays. The Dingo is pretty rough hangout. There's always a fight going on there, and once a girl even got shot. We walked around talking to all the Greasers and hoods we knew, leaning in on car windows and hopping in the back seats and getting in on who's running away and who was in jail and who was going with who and who could whip who and who stole what and when and why. We knew about it. We knew about everybody there. There was a pretty good fight while we were there between a big 23-year-old greaser and a Mexican hitchhiker. We left when the switchblades came out because the cops will be coming soon and nobody in his right mind wants to be around when the fuzz show up. So here they are, movie theaters. And there's all these fights and gangs. And basically good old just fashioned JDs, just juvenile delinquents, right? And they're all hanging out. So in my head, I picture them hopping from car to car, going from movie to movie, kind of chilling, doing their own thing. And as soon as this big fight breaks out, they're like, it's time to go because the cops are going to be coming soon. So right now, remember, this is Johnny, who's the small puppy looking kid who looks like a puppy that's got kicked too many times. We got Pony Boy, and then we got Dolly. And remember, Dolly is like this rough, cold to the world kind of guy, kind of doesn't care attitude about life. That's who Dolly is, all right? We crossed Sutton and cut around behind Spencer's Special, the discount house, and chased 2 junior high school kids across the field for a few minutes. They just chasing kids for fun. They're just poor kids. I see these kids kind of chilling, and then all of a sudden these greasers come like, we gotta go. They just take off running, right? By then, it was dark enough to sneak in over the back fence to the nightly double drive-in movie. It was the biggest in town and showed 2 movies every night. And on the weekends, 4. You could say you were going to the nightly double and have the time to go all over town. We had all the money to get in. It only costs a quarter if you're not in a car. But Dolly hated to do things the legal way. He liked to show that he didn't care whether there was a law or not. He went around trying to break laws. He went to the rows of the seats in the front of the concession stands to sit down. Nobody else was there except 2 girls who were sitting down in the front. Dolly eyed them coolly. So Dolly, again, I just kind of want to put this down in your notes. Dolly is a rule breaker. Listen, they had the money to get into the movie theaters, but Dolly just kind of hopped over and went anyway. So he enters this theater, and he sees 2 girls kind of sitting there. Then he walked down the aisle and sat right behind them. I had a sick feeling that Dolly was up to his usual tricks, and I was right. He started talking loud enough for the 2 girls to hear him. He started out bad and only got worse. All right, let me pause here for a second. I'm a victim of this myself as a young man. When I want to impress girls, we talk louder to let them know that we're around so that we think we're kind of funny and that maybe they can hear us. So Dolly is being this typical like, yeah, look at these 2 broads in front of me, right? So he's kind of being this bad guy trying to make sure they get his attention or he gets their attention. Dallas could talk awfully dirty if he wanted to. And I guess he wanted to then. I felt my ears get hot. So you can tell that Ponyboy's like, oh my God, what is he doing? And Johnny is just quiet. Johnny's a very quiet kid. Two Bitter, Steve, or even Soda would have gone right along with him just to see if they can embarrass the girls. But that kind of kicks just don't appeal to me. I sat there, struck dumb, and Johnny left hastily to get a Coke. So Johnny's like, I'll go get a Coke. So Johnny just gets up and picture Johnny again. He has like this leather jacket, jeans, the hair's kind of black. He's like, I'm just gonna go get a Coke because he doesn't want to be a part of this either. I wouldn't have felt so embarrassed if they had been greaser girls. I might even have helped old Dally. But these two girls weren't our kind. They were tough looking girls. You know, tough with the Tuff. Dressed sharp and really good looking. So yes, Joey Spina, they are most likely socius because I can hear you going, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. One had short dark hair and the other had long red hair. The redhead was getting mad or scared. She sat up straight and was chewing hard on her gum. The other one pretended not to hear Dally. Dally was getting impatient. He put his feet up on the back of the redhead's chair and he winked at me. Beat his own record for saying something dirty. She turned around and gave him a cold stare. Take your feet off my chair and shut your trap. Boy, she was good looking. I had seen her before. She was a cheerleader at school. I'd always thought she was stuck up. Dally merely looked at her and kept his feet where they were. Who's gonna make me? The other one turned around and watched us. That's the greasers, the jockeys from the slash J sometimes, she said, as if we couldn't hear. I had heard the same tone a million times. Greaser, greaser, greaser. Oh yeah, I heard about the tone before too many times. What were they doing in a drive-in without a car, I thought. And Dallas said, I know you two. I've seen you around the rodeos. So just so you know, the rodeos is a place where they go like actual horses, because in Tulsa, Oklahoma, this is what they did. So they go to the rodeos for fun. So he's saying, I've seen you around the rodeos. It's a shame you can't ride that bull as half as good as you can talk it, the redhead said coolly and then turned back around. Oh, snap. That didn't bother Dally in the least. You two barrel race, huh? You better just leave us alone, the redhead said in a biting voice. Or I'll call the cops. Oh, my. You've got me scared to death. You ought to see my record sometime, baby. Guess what I've been in for, huh? So when he says record, he's obviously talking about his jail time. Please leave us alone. Why don't you be nice and just leave us alone? Dally grinned roughly. I'm never nice. You want a Coke? She was mad by then. I wouldn't drink it if I was starving in a desert. Get lost, you hood. Dally merely shrugged and then strolled off. The girl looked at me. I was half scared of her, half scared of all nice girls, especially socius. Are you going to start with us too now? I shook my head wide-eyed. No. Suddenly, she smiled. Gosh, she was pretty. You don't look like that type. What's your name? I wish you had asked me that because I hate to tell people my name for the first time. Ponyboy Curtis. Then I waited for you're kidding me, that's your name? That's your real name? All the usual remarks. But the redhead just smiled. Well, that's an original name. I love it. My dad was an original person, I said. I've got a brother named Soda Pop, and it says on his birth certificate, too. My name's Sherry, but I'm called Cherry because of my hair. Cherry Valance. So Cherry has, like, red hair. I know, I said. You're a cheerleader. We go to the same school. You don't look old enough to be going to high school, the dark-haired girl said. I'm not. I got put up a year in grade school. So there you go. Another thing you should add is that Pony skipped a grade. Okay? So hopefully you still have this picture in your head that they're at this movie theater and stuff. I felt myself stiffen. I'm a grease, same as Dally. He's my buddy. I'm sorry, Pony Boy. Your brother Soda Pop. Does he work at the gasoline station? A DX, I think. Yeah. Man, your brother is one doll. I might have guessed you were brothers. You look a lot alike. I grinned with pride. I don't think I look one bit like Soda, but it's not every day I hear socials telling me they think my brother's a doll. Didn't you used to ride in rodeos and saddle brunk? Didn't he do that? Yeah, Dad made him quit after he tore a ligament, though. We still hang around the rodeos a lot. I've seen you two barrel race real good. Thanks, Cherry said, and the other girl, who was named Marcia, said, how come we don't see your brother at school? He's ain't no older than 16 or 17, is he? I winced inside. I told you I can't stand that Soda dropped out. He's a dropout. Dropout. Made me think of some poor dumb-looking hoodlum wandering the streets, breaking all the street lights. It didn't fit my happy-go-lucky brother at all. It fitted Dally perfectly, but could hardly say it about Soda. Johnny came back then and sat beside me. He looked around for Dally, then he managed to hi to the girls and tried to watch the movie. He was nervous, though. Johnny was always nervous and around strangers. Sherry looked at him, sizing him up as she had me. Then she smiled softly. I knew she had sized him up right. Dally came striding back with an armful of Cokes and handed one of them to the girls and sat down. Cherry, this might cool you off. She gave him an incredulous look, and then she threw the Coke right in his face. That might cool you off, Greaser. After you wash your mouth and learn how to talk and act decent, I might cool off too. Dally wiped the Coke off his face with his sleeve and smiled dangerously. If he had been Cherry, I would have beat it out of there. If I had been Cherry, I would have beat it out of there. I knew what that smile meant. Fiery, huh? Well, that's the way I like 'em. He started to put his arm around her, but Johnny reached over and stopped him. Leave her alone, Dally. Huh? Dally was taken off guard. He stared at Johnny in disbelief. Johnny couldn't say boo to a goose. Johnny gulped and turned a little pale. You heard me. Just leave her alone. Dallas scowled for a second. If it had been me or Two-Bit, Soda, or Steve, or anyone but Johnny, Dally would have flattened him out without a moment's hesitation. You just didn't tell Dally Winston what to do. One time at a dime store, a guy told him to move over to the candy counter. Dally had turned around and belted him so hard it knocked a tooth loose. A complete stranger, too. But see, Johnny, he's the gang's pet, and Dally just couldn't hit him. He was Dally's pet, too. Dally got up and stalked off, his fist jammed in his pockets and a frown on his face. He didn't come back. You need this for your notes, boys and girls. See, Dally, he loves Johnny, no matter what. And this is why Johnny can get away with talking to Dally like that. And Johnny, who never talks, who never, speaks up, actually just spoke up, and that's why Dally got a little mad. Sherry sighed relief. Thanks. He had me scared to death. Johnny managed an admiring grin. You sure didn't show it. Nobody talks to Dally like that. She smiled. Well, from what I saw, you do. Johnny's ears got red. I was still staring at him. It had taken more than nerve for him to say what he had to say to Dally. Johnny worshipped the ground that Dallas walked on, and I never heard Johnny talk back to anyone, much less his hero. So Johnny, in return, thinks that Dally is a hero. Interesting. Keep this in mind as the book kind of continues on. Marcia grinned at us. She was a little smaller than Sherry. She was cute, but Sherry Valance had a real looker. Y'all sit up here with us. You can protect us. John and I looked at each other. He grinned, suddenly raising his eyebrows so that they disappeared under his bangs. Would we ever have something to tell the boys? His eyes said plainly. We had picked up 2 girls, and classy ones at that. Not any greaser broads for us, but real socials. Soda would flip when I told him this. Okay, I said nonchalantly. Might as well. I sat between them, and Johnny sat next to Sherry. How old are y'all? Marcia asked. 14, I said. 16, said Johnny. That's funny, Marcia said. I thought you both were 16. Sherry finished for her. I was grateful. Johnny looked 14, and he knew it, and it bugged him something awful. Johnny grinned. How come y'all ain't scared of us like you're scared of Dally? Sherry sighed. You two are too sweet to scare anyone. First of all, you didn't join in Dally's dirty talk, and you made him leave us alone. And when he asked you to sit up here with us, you didn't act like it was an invitation to make out for the night. Besides that, I've heard about Dallas Winston, and he looked as hard as nails and twice as tough. You don't look so mean. Sure, I said, Tyler. We're young and innocent. No, Sherry said, looking at me carefully. Not innocent. You've seen too much to be innocent. You're just not dirty. Dallas is okay, Johnny said defensively, and I nodded. You take up for your buddies no matter what they do. When you're in a gang, you stick up for members. If you don't stick up for them, you stick together like brothers. It's a gang. It's a pack. A snarling, distrustful, bickering pack like the socials in the social clubs or the street gangs in New York or the wolves in the timber. He's tough, but he's a cool old guy. He'd leave you alone if you know him, I said, when that was true. When Steve's cousins from Kansas came down, Dally was decent to her and watched his swearing. We all did around nice girls who were cousinly type. I don't know how to explain it. We try to be nice to girls we see once in a while, like cousins or the girls in class. But we still watch a nice girl go by on the street corner and say all kinds of lousy stuff about her. Don't ask me why, because I don't know why. Well, Marcia said finally, I'm glad he doesn't know us. I kind of admire him, Sherry said softly, so I only heard, and then we settled down to watch the movie. So just so you have an idea, boys and girls, Cherry Valance does kind of like Dally Winston, even though he's kind of a jerk, right? It's not my idea of a good time to sit and drive in and watch people get drunk. You could tell by the way she said it that her idea of a good time was probably high class and probably expensive, that they decided to stay and see the movie anyway. It was one of those beach party movies with no plot and no acting, but a lot of girls in bikinis, some singing and swinging songs, so it was all right. We were all four sitting there in silence when suddenly a strong hand came down on Johnny's shoulder and another hand on mine, and a deep voice said, "Okay, greasers, we've had it." I almost jumped out of my skin. It was like having someone leap out in front of behind the door and yell boo at you. I looked fearfully over my shoulder, and there was Two-Bit grinning like a cheesy cat. "Glory, Two-Bit, you scared us to death." He was good at voice imitation. It sounded like one of the snarling greasers, or excuse me, one of the snarling socials. Then I looked at Johnny. His eyes were shut, and he was white as a ghost. His breath was coming smooth as gas. Two-Bit knew better to scare Johnny like that. I guess he forgot. He was kind of scatterbrained. Johnny opened his eyes and said weakly, "Hey, Two-Bit." Two-Bit messed up his hair. "Sorry, kid. I forgot." He climbed over the chair and plopped down beside Marcia. Who's this? Your great aunts?" "Great-grandmother's twice removed," Sherry said smoothly. I couldn't tell if Two-Bit was drunk or not. It's kind of hard to tell with him. He acts all boozed up sometimes. "Shoot, you're 96 in a day," he said. "I'm a knight," Marcia said brightly. Two-Bit stared at her admiringly. "Brother, you're a sharp one. Where'd you two ever pick up by a couple greasy hoods like Pony and Johnny?" We really picked them up," Marcia said. "We're really Abraham slave traders, and we're thinking about Shanghaiing night them. We're worth 10 camels apiece at least." "5, Two-Bit disagreed. "They talk Arabian, I don't think. Say something Arabian, Johnny Cake." "Oh, cut it out," Johnny broke in. Dally was bothering them, and when he left, they wanted us to sit with them to protect them against wisecracking greasers like you, probably. Two-Bit grinned because Johnny didn't usually get sassy like that. We thought we were doing good if we could get him to talk at all. Incidentally, we don't mind being called greasers by another greasers. It's kind of a playful then. "Hey, where's good old Dally at?" Two-Bit said. "He went hunting some from action, booze or dames or something like that. He just got out." "He'll probably find a fight too," Two-Bit said cheerfully. "That's why I came over. Mr. Timothy Shepard and company were looking for whoever so kindly slashed their car tires, and since Mr. Curly Shepard spotted Dallas doing it, well, does Dallas have a blade on him?" All right, let me help you with that part. So Shepard's gang is a different gang, and Dally slashed his tires for fun, so now they're probably going to get into a fight later on, just so you have an idea of what's taking place with that. So Two-Bit kind of goes on page 29 to say fair is fair, a fight's a fight, but they're always going to have Dally's back. They don't appreciate what Dally has done, but they're always going to have his back for kind of what took place. But nonetheless, what kind of happens next is that Pony Boy and Cherry are going to take a little walk, And as they're kind of walking, they're kind of having this talk about what's going on. And here's what she says to him. Johnny, he's been hurt bad sometime, hasn't he? Hurt and scared? It was the socius, I said. Johnny getting beat up. I mean, I don't really like talking about it fast more than I like to, but this is what happened. So this is where I'm going to pause for chapter 2 and take a break. And this is where you should take a break as well. And I'm going to come back and then it's going to explain what happened to Johnny about 4 months ago. And it's only about 4 pages long, but we'll stop there just so you can kind of recollect yourself. All right?